Love is a motivation that all people share. We are driven to find the perfect soulmate. We strive to make our friends' bad days better. Love can be the source of the greatest moments in our lives, and its loss can be the source of the worst. It's because of this poignancy that there are so many love stories out there. Hey there everyone, welcome to another episode of My Subjective Review, where I give you my subjective review of an anime. I'm your host Cumberland92, and today we will be looking at Hal. Hal is a 60-minute movie released in June 2013 over in Japan, but the film made its American debut in September the following year. The film was directed by Ryotaro Makihara and it was produced by Production IG. Hal takes place in the near future where humanoid robots have become mankind's helpers. Not only that, but technology has advanced so much so that robots can actually be turned into humans, more or less. So, when, in the first scene of the film, a plane carrying a loved one on board explodes into a fiery ball of death overhead, the family of the loved one does what any normal loving family would do. They turn their robot Yuichi into an exact replica of the one they lost. Enter Hal, the protagonist and the movie's namesake. Hal is an interesting fellow. Being human for the first time, he has no idea what it means to feel, or what his past is. All he knows is that his girlfriend Kurumi has become emotionally distant, and it's his job to fix that. How does he do this? With Rubik's Cubes. You see, in the movie they have a custom that when someone has a wish that they want to come true, they write it down on one of the faces of a Rubik's Cube and mix it up. They believe,
when you solve a face, the wish that's written there will come true.
This idea drives the bulk of the plot. Hal solving one of the faces of Kurumi's cube and then going out and making the wish happen, be it something simple like own a pet giraffe, or something more complex about her past. It's through this wish fulfillment process that the relationship between Hal and Kurumi starts to grow and develop. But you can't have a good romance without good characters, and this is where I felt Hal's short runtime really hurt it. Don't get me wrong, the movie did a great job for making me sympathize with the characters for something as short as an hour. However, I think the movie could have had a few extra scenes of character interaction just to make me care more deeply for them. The characters just weren't as well fleshed out as they could have been. Take Hal. He's a pretty standard romantic protagonist with a standard romantic goal, that being that he wants Kurumi to be happy. He remains one of these dime a dozen generic leads until we learn more about his past about 3/4 of the way through the movie. Now, don't get me wrong, generic doesn't mean bad. There's a reason characters like Hal are used so often, it's because they work. I just would have liked to have seen a bit more of what makes Hal unique, and I certainly would have liked to have seen it before the 45-minute point of the movie. Next on our list of characters, we have Kurumi. Kurumi is a standard love interest who goes through a pretty standard arc, starting out emotionally distant and growing closer to Hal as the film progresses. Speaking of pretty standard, there's Ryu. Ryu is your standard troublemaker friend. He has some run-ins with the law, but you can tell that he's a genuinely good person and that he cares for Hal and, to a lesser extent, Kurumi. Now, one interesting note, when you look at a list of characters on a website like Wikipedia, IMDb, or MyAnimeList, Ryu will be listed third, which makes no sense. He doesn't have near the amount of dialogue or likability as Aranami. Aranami is a loving fellow. He runs an adult daycare center and plays father figure to Hal throughout the movie. He wants the best for the people close to him. On a personal note, Aranami reminds me of my grandfather in the sense that they would both go out of their way to make people happy. And this similarity to my grandpa made Aranami my favorite character. Hal was produced by Production IG, and the film is simply gorgeous. Animation is very fluid and character designs are solid. My only problem with the visuals is the textures of the clothing would change at the drop of a hat. It took me a while to get used to this, but once I did, it didn't bother me. As far as sound goes, the film was magnificent. The English dub, done by Funimation, is solid. Todd Haberkorn, Bryn Apel, and Chris Burnett all fit their roles of Ryu, Kurumi, and Hal respectively very well, but the standout was Bill Flynn as Aranami. He captured the whimsical, wise, loving nature of Aranami very well. The music for Hal was composed by Michiru Oshihima, and the soundtrack is gorgeous. Some of the music has been playing in the background of this video, and by now you should have noticed how beautiful it is. The soundtrack is relatively simple, relying mostly on piano, minor strings, and on the rare occasion vocals to convey the mood. But its simplicity is what makes the OST so powerful. It is by no means my favorite anime movie soundtrack, but it's still a cut above your standard fare. Overall, Hal has a good, if typical plot, with good, if typical characters, and amazing sound and visuals. The biggest flaw I can see with Hal is that it's too short. The film feels rushed in some areas, and I would have liked to have seen the world be explored more than it was. However, the brevity of the movie did not stop Hal from having an emotional ending. I'm serious. HAL hit me right in the feels, not to the extent of something like Clannad or Anohana, but I can't help but feel that if the movie was longer and there was more time devoted to the characters, then the ending would have been that much more emotionally resonant. And who knows, maybe with a little more time it could have been as emotionally impactful as Anohana. But we will never know. And isn't that a shame? HAL receives a subjective score of 6.5 out of 10. If you're looking for an emotional story that's short, sweet, and to the point, then I suggest you check it out. As of right now, HAL is licensed by Funimation in North America and by Madman in Australia. So, have you seen HAL? What did you think of it? What did you think of this review? Let me know down in the comments. And thanks for watching.